Hello everyone, my name is Ibrahima aka NYC Passion. Thank you so much for watching. Now I know in recent days a lot of us are completely zoomed out, but before it became an internet thing, to zoom in or out has always been a question photographers ask themselves, and it's a very important one that I'd like to discuss with you today. I used to think that when a camera has a zoom feature, you have to use it. There was even a time when I was purchasing camera, one of the questions I always first ask almost, was how big is the zoom? Well, I learned quickly that it is not the only thing that matters when it comes to photography, but it is an important one nonetheless. So what is it to zoom in? To zoom in is to change the focal length of your lens. Okay, you're making it longer or you're making it shorter by zooming out. That's essentially what it is. When, first of all, let's just say that when you're zooming in, you're making your lens longer, you're showing more details, you are purposely or not excluding scenery and subject from your picture. And that should matters because there are moments that you will never get back or that are very hard to recreate, almost impossible. So you are choosing what you are putting in your work, and that should matter. The second thing is, as you're zooming in or you're zooming out, what you choose to be on your frame is essentially going to affect your resolution, the exposure, the focus, everything matters. Okay? In fact, after you take the photo, you will see, and even before, the highlights, the shadows, all of that matters. When you are zooming in, you have to understand as your camera focal length gets longer, the aperture, which is the opening, also gets narrower, slimmer, smaller. So there is less light coming in. You may end up with a darker image here. And as you zooming out, you get more light in because the opening aperture gets wider. So you may get a brighter image in result, okay? Which makes nighttime or in low light situation zooming in much trickier than it seems at first. Now, how to zoom in better? What are some tips and tricks on to do this best? Let's start with the simple thing. First, you have to know your zooming capability. On your lens, you will be able to read 18 to 135 millimeter for this one. What is the shortest, respectively, and the longest focal length that lens has? Sometimes it's just a one focal length. It's just, for instance, here it's 50 millimeter. You cannot zoom in on it. You know your camera or lens limitations first, okay? Uh, Important things to consider and to do in helping you taking better photos when you're zooming in. Turn on the stabilization of your camera or lens. Uh, Mine here is on the side right here to turn it on. Some are within the camera setting. You can do that. Second, use a tripod. Even during the day, it can make a big difference. It will help avoid a blurry image, especially at night. Third thing, do not stand on one leg on a shaky table that is at its edge. You do not do that because you need to be firm while you're taking this photo, okay? Hold the camera steadily, which is a rule of thumb in photography in general. You gotta make sure that camera is held tightly, especially when you're zooming in while being in a moving object or a vehicle. It makes a big difference. Now, the next tip to me is a very important that a lot of people neglect, which is control your breathing, stay calm. When you're zooming in, especially from afar or while you're in a moving object, vehicle, boat, whatever that is, the more and the longer you are zooming in, the more sensitive your camera is to movement. Okay, so gotta be careful for that. And make sure you are on optical zoom. When you decide to go into digital zoom, there is a difference in the quality of the picture as well. There are artistic and technical reasons to zoom in. Artistically, of course, let's just mention the obvious here, is that When your subject is not as visible because of the distance, you may want to zoom in if you cannot get closer. This is especially true in wildlife photography and sports photography when you cannot be in the middle of the scene trying to take the photo of the player or the people who are participating or actively in that scene. So, from a distance, when you don't have a choice to see your subject or see much better, you have to zoom in. Okay? There is another reason when you want to do this, of course, to show a detail, but when the background is distracting or simply unappealing, you may want to zoom in, you know. So that's another reason to do this. My favorite, however, reason to zoom in is to show less when less is more. In fact, when you know that showing less of your subject or the scene will have a bigger impact in the viewer's perception of that image or the understanding of the story that you're narrating here, you do want to zoom in. An example I use often is the Statue of Liberty. You know, some people always take the photo of the statue with the pedestal and everything on it, forgetting that sometimes a little detail or the beautiful face that she has welcoming all these immigrants matter. So you show less to have a better story, and that matters here as well. Okay, so I hope these tips and tricks can help you. I put some fun facts in the description of this video about zooming in and photography in general. If you like the content, please click like, and if you want more of this, please click subscribe.